Welcome to the Daily Tanya. Today is Sunday, the 25th day of Iyar. And today we're going to learn the lesson for yesterday, Shabbos, the 24th of Iyar, and today's lesson. Let's begin with Tzedakah. Kadela, Tzedakah, Shemekareves Esageula. Tzedakah brings Mashiach closer. So we started yesterday, chapter 51 of the Likutei Amarim, the first part of the Tanya, which first part has 53 chapters. So we're getting the last 3 chapters of this book. And the Alter Rebbe goes back to explain in more details the deeper meaning and understanding of God's dwelling in this world, specifically through the actions of the mitzvahs. Now, in the last few chapters, we focused on the concept of doing the mitzvahs with feelings, with emotions. So, and he explained different ways. First of all, he explained why it is necessary. It's not enough to have just a dry mitzvah that we do. It is important to, in order to elevate and to let the mitzvah soar up high, you need to do it with feelings of love and fear of Hashem and so on. And now he goes back to what he discussed, that really, but the bottom line is that what is most important is the action of the mitzvah. And in chapter 35, the Alter Rebbe brought a statement, what it says in the Zohar from the Yenuka, that why a person should not walk 4 cubits with his head uncovered is because there is the light of the Shekhinah dwells in his head. So your head, it says, Chacham einu bereishoi. The wise person is the eyes in his head. That's what King Solomon says. And the question the Yenuka asks in the Zohar, what does it mean, Chacham einu bereishoi? That the wise person's eyes is in his head. Where else would the eyes be? And he explains that what it means that the eyes needs to be focused on what is on your head. And what is on your head is the divine presence dwells on your head. And that fire of the divine presence, that light, needs fuel. What is the fuel? The action, mitzvahs of action. This is the fuel for the light of the Shekhinah. So to understand this, to understand why fuel is compared to action, we know in general, in the Torah compares fuel to the concept of wisdom. And what does it mean? That the actions, the mitzvahs of action are the fuel to fuel the divine presence. So to understand this, the Alter Rebbe first begins explaining the whole concept of what does it mean when we're saying that God dwells in a certain place. Like we say, for example, in the Holy Temple, God's presence dwells in the Holy of Holies. In Jerusalem, the Holy Temple. We're all waiting for Mashiach to come. And that's where the Holy Temple will be rebuilt. And in the Holy of Holies, it is the dwelling of Hashem. That's where God's presence dwells. And the question is, isn't God everywhere? God is everywhere. So what does it mean that Hashem, God, dwells in a certain place? The same question can be asked regarding people. But God dwells in certain people more than in others. Or also in time. There are certain days that are holier than other days. What does that mean? So the Alter Rebbe uses the example, the analogy of the human existence. The way it says God created us in His image. B'tzelem Elokim bara et Adam. And it says, Mi besari echazeh Eloka. From my flesh, I can see godliness. Because God created us in His image. That means that when we analyze the way the body, the soul of human being works, we can understand, to a certain extent, of course, we can understand the way Hashem dwells in this world. So he explains that when a person is alive, because what makes you alive? You have a soul. The soul keeps you alive. Where is the soul? So the soul is equally everywhere. The soul, your brain is just as alive as your pinky. If there is no soul, then the pinky will be as dead as the brain. Everything is equally alive. Yet there is obviously different types of energy and life that comes from the soul to different organs. There is the type of life that comes from the soul to the brain to think, to speak, to think, to understand. There's another way, another type of life that comes to the eyes, to be able to see. So there's a specific energy that goes to each specific organ. So where is this energy coming from? It's coming directly from the soul. The soul is, as we said, equally everywhere, which means it's beyond and above divisions. It's indivisible between different types of powers. And he explains that this is the difference, that this is the way it works. It comes in the soul. There is in potential different types of life, and that dwells in the brain. The brain is the nerve center of the body, and everything comes through the brain. So we'll look inside this analogy that he gives. Let's see inside what the Alter Rebbe says, chapter 51. It says the Alter Rebbe, Ve'inei, again, this is from yesterday, from the 24th of Iyar. Ve'inei l'teisefes biu loshna yenuka d'la'el. A further explanation. And the words of the Yenuka mentioned earlier in chapter 35, where the Yenuka was quoted as saying that the light of the Shechina, which dwells upon a Jew, needs oil. Meaning, the oil, it says, is good deeds. Now, what connection do good deeds have with oil? Which usually refers to Chachma, the wisdom. So in order to understand this, the Alter Rebbe goes first explaining the concept of what does it mean, the dwelling of the Shechina, the dwelling of God, in a certain place more than in others. It is necessary first to explain so that one may understand a little to understand the concept of the Shechina dwelling, that it dwelt in the Holy of Holies. Indeed, there are detailed laws defining the marks of respect due to the Holy of Holies because of the dwelling there of the Shechina. In the Holy of Holies, no one was allowed to enter except the high priest, and only once a year, on Yom Kippur. And likewise, any other place where the Shechina dwells, what does this concept mean? Any other place, we can ask the same question, any other time or people. What is meant when we say that a particular location is distinguished as being a place where the Shechina dwells rather than elsewhere? And the question is, God is everywhere. Surely the whole world is full of his glory, and no place is void of him. Says the Alter Rebbe, however, the key to understanding the subject is to be found in the text, and from my flesh I see God. The Alter Rebbe understands these words literally. From what we see within ourselves, in our own soul and body, we can visualize the parallel on the spiritual level, in the divine emanations and the world in general. So he explains, by way of analogy, the human soul pervades all the 248 organs of the body from head to foot, from the highest part of the body to the lowest part of the body. So the soul pervades the body to the extent that no organ or portion of it remains void of the soul. So that means it gives life to the entire body equally. Every part of the body is equally alive. Nevertheless, nevertheless, the soul's principal abode in a revealed form and dwelling place in all-encompassing non-revealed form is in one's brain, and from the brain the soul is diffused throughout the organs. So it dwells in the brain. It dwells there in a revealed form and in a non-revealed form, because there's certain powers of the soul that is revealed in the brain, like thinking and so on. There are certain things in the soul that it dwells in the brain, but is revealed in other organs. For example, when you use your hand to draw and you make a drawing, a painting, or something that expresses something deep of your soul. You have a deep expression in your soul that it draws, you're expressing it on the canvas using your hand. So the hand reveals something very deep from your soul, that it dwelled in the brain, but it wasn't revealed in the brain, it revealed in the hands. Moreover, each organ receives from the soul, a different form of life force and functional power appropriate to it according to its composition and character. Every organ has a different composition, different character, and that draws a different type of energy to make it work, a life force. So ha'ayin lirois, the eye receives from the soul a life force and ability to see. So the power of sight accords with the smooth and translucent nature of the tissue of the eye. The ear receives from the soul a life force and ability to hear, the mouth to speak, and the feet to walk. So each organ in the body, in accordance with its composition and character, receives its life force and ability from the soul, which dwells and becomes revealed initially in the brain. As we clearly sense how in the brain one is conscious of all that occurs within the 248 organs and everything experienced by them. Because the brain is the nerve center and principal, abode, and source of the life force of the entire body. Now the thing is like this, as we said before. Where does the different types of energy come to the organs? Where does there is the life force that comes from the soul is obviously beyond it's beyond distinction. It does not. It's indivisible. It does not divide into small parts, into different types of energy. So where is it coming from? Where is the change from a very simple, plain energy that comes from the soul that is inclusive and is equal to all organs and makes us all alive equally? Where is the change that comes to each organ in a particular type of energy? Says the Alter Rebbe, "Ve'ine ein shinui kabolas hakoiches ve'achayis shebe'evrei haguf min haneshama." Now, the variations in receiving the functional powers and life force by the organs of the body from the soul, each organ is not from the essence of the soul. מצד עצמו, שיהיה מהוסו ועצמוסו, משחלק לרמח הלוקים שוינו מסלבשים מרמח מקיימס כפי ציור חלקי מקיימס עבר הגוף, receiving from the soul a life force and power in a different form that does not derive from the soul's essence and being. Now we should say that its being and essence is divided into 248 different parts, which are enclosed in 248 locations, according to the design of the various locations of the body's organs. That is not the case, because the soul is indivisible. Because according to this, it would follow that the soul's essence and being is designed in a physical design and a likeness and structure similar to the structure of the body, God forbid. Just as the organs of the body have various shapes and forms, so, according to this outlook, are the functional powers, while still within the soul, different from each other in forms. But again, we cannot accept this, because the soul is not divisible. אלא כולו עצם אחד רוחני פשוט ומופשט מכל ציור גשמי ומבחינת וגדר מוקרים ומידו וגבול גשמי מצד מהוסה ועצמוסה. Rather, the soul is entirely a single spiritual entity. It is one, a single entity, and two, a spiritual entity. As a single entity, its oneness is plain and uncompounded. As a spiritual entity, its spirituality is in a form which is divested of any physical design and of any type of definition of physical space, measure, or limitations. And the soul is free of all such dimensions by virtue of its intrinsic being and essence. In fact, the soul is so plain and free of all these that even when it is actually enclosed within the organs, they cannot affect any changes in the soul. Therefore, the Alter Rebbe continues, "V'lo yishayich b'mehusa v'atzmusa lo yimashir b'moichin sheb'roish yisem b'raglayim. Me'achar shemehusa v'atzmusa eina b'geder m'chinas mokem m'gvul gashmi." And it is not valid to say concerning the soul's being and essence, the very essence of the soul, it's not valid to say that it is in the brain or the head more than it in the feet, since its being and essence is not subject to the concept of dimension of physical space and limitation. It is therefore impossible to attribute to the soul this limitation of being more in the head than in the feet. However, so in the soul there are in potential the 613 type of powers, which is 248 organs, 365 sinews. רק שתייג מיני כויכס וחייס כלולים בו במאוסה ועצמוסה לוסס אל הפועל והגילוי מהאלם. Rather, the 613 kinds of functional powers and vital forces are included within the soul, within its being and essence, to become actualized and to emerge from this concealment and inclusion within the soul's essence. So previously, while still included within the soul's essence, they are only in potential and therefore hidden within the soul, not even as a functional powers which are revealed as such while still included within the soul. In other words, within the soul is concealed the potential of 613 functional powers to become actualized and to emerge from concealment to become revealed. And to do what? להחייס רמ"ח איבורים ושסה גידים שבגוף על ידי הסלבשוסם שבנפש החיוניס, שיש לו גם כן רמ"ח ושסה כחייס עלינו. In order to animate the 248 organs and 365 blood vessels of the body through the functional powers of the divine soul becoming enclosed within the animating or vital soul. So you have the spiritual soul coming through the vital soul. The vital soul is like the standing in between, the intermediary between the spiritual soul and the brain, which is, as we'll soon see, the center, the nerve center of the entire body. So which also possesses a corresponding 248 and 365 functional powers and vital forces. So now, when we are saying that the soul dwells in the brain, we're talking about this 613 powers that comes from concealment of the soul into the body. It doesn't go directly from the soul to the different organs. It goes first into the brain. שעיקר משכונה והשראוסה של המשוך הזו וגיל זה הוא כולי במכן שבראש. Now concerning the flow of all the 613 kinds of functional powers and vital forces which are drawn from the concealment of the soul, where they are previously hidden, and from where they are now drawn to the body to animate it. Concerning this flow, the sages have said that the principal dwelling place and abode of this flow and revelation of the previously concealed powers and forces is entirely situated in the brains of the head. And therefore, הם מקבלים תחילו הכוח וחיוס הרואי להם לפי מזגם ותכונסם, שהם חוכמה בינה דעת, וכוח המחשבה וכל השייך למוחין. Says first of all, the energy that belongs to the brain, they receive it first from the soul. And then he's going to say also not only that, but from them also is derived the forces and the powers to the rest of the organs. He says, therefore, it is they, the brains, which first receive the powers and life force appropriate to them according to their composition and character, namely the intellect, which is divided into three intellectual faculties called Chabad, Chochma, Bina, and Das, and the faculty of thought and whatever pertains to the brain. So all these receive their life force from the soul before the other parts of the body. In other words, not only this, that the brain receives their own life force before the other organs, but also the overall flow of all the individual streams of vitality to the other organs is also first included and enclosed in the brain of the head before it becomes revealed in the individual organs. And it is there in the brain that the core and source of all the said flow exists in a form in which the light and vitality of the entire soul are revealed. In other words, where the general flow of the vitality reaches the brain, then the light and the vitality of the entire body begins to be revealed. ומשם מתפשטת האור לשאר כל האיברים ומקבל כל אחד כוח וחייס רואי אלוהי כפי מסגרת חנסי כוח הראייה בסגל בעין וכוח השמיעה באוזן וכו'. And from there, from the brain, radiance flow to all the other organs, each of which then receives the functional power and vital force appropriate to it according to its composition and character. The power of sight is revealed in the eye, the power of hearing in the ear, and so on. And all functional powers flow from the brain, as is known, for there in the brain is located the principal dwelling place of the entire soul in a revealed form. Since there in the brain, the overall life force which flows from the soul is revealed. It is only the individual faculties of the overall life force which shine forth and radiate from there, from the brain, to the organs, to all the organs of the body. Just as light radiates and shines from the sun into the innermost of rooms. You go into a house when there is no windows. You have a room and another room and another room. Go inside the room. Still there is some light there. You don't see the sun there, but there's some light that goes in there also. So it draws from the sun, it goes into the rooms and from one room to another room and so on. Continues the Alter Rebbe, Va'afilu alev, even the heart, mekabel ma'amoyach. Even the heart, which is a central organ, from which all other organs receive vitality. The heart refuses to all organs, but still the heart also receives its own vital force from the brain. Which is why the brain naturally dominates the heart, as explained above. That's what we said in chapter 12, that the brain controls the heart. In life, we have this constant battle between the heart and the brain. The brain wants to do something, and the heart wants to do something else. And of course, we want to make sure that the brain wins, but not always does it happen. Sometimes the heart takes over, then we follow our emotions rather than our brain. But the fact, says the Alter Rebbe, the fact that by nature, the way God created us, the brain, the life that comes to the heart comes from the brain. That means that the brain is able to control, if you only want, You're able to control the emotions, you're able to control the feelings of the heart. So that's yesterday's lesson, and we continue now with today's lesson, Sunday, the 25th of Iyar. Continues the Alter Rebbe that now that we said this analogy from soul and the body, similarly, we understand the concept of God animating this world. In a truly similar manner, figuratively speaking, does the blessed Ein Sof fill all worlds so as to animate them. There is a marked similarity between the soul pervading the body and the Ein Sof permeating all the worlds. Just as in the analogy, the soul is found within and suffuses the entire body. In a parallel manner, Ein Sof fills and is found in all worlds. And in each world there are creatures without limits or end, myriads upon myriads of various grades of angels and souls, and so on. And so too is the abundance of the worlds without end or limits, one higher than the other, and so on. So the question is, Hashem, the essence of Hashem. Where is Hashem's presence? So when we're talking about the essence of Hashem, similar to what we said, the essence of the soul is equal in the entire body. Same thing, Hashem is equal in every part of every level, every world. As we said, there's endless levels of godly revelations, but the very essence of Hashem is equally everywhere. Now the core and essence of the blessed Ein Sof is the same in the higher and lower worlds as in the example of the soul mentioned above, wherein the Alter Rebbe explained that the soul's core and essence is not divisible, and thus it cannot be said of it that it is found in the brain to a greater extent than it is found in the feet. As it is written in Tikkunim that he is hidden from all the hidden. So what does that mean, is hidden from all the hidden? That not only that he's hidden in this world and in the hidden from the hidden worlds, but it means that is the level of him being hidden in the hidden worlds is similar to the level the way he's hidden here. This means to say that even in the higher hidden worlds, he is hidden and concealed within them, just as he is hidden and concealed in the lower worlds. Why? For no thought can apprehend him at all, even in the higher worlds. And he is found, meaning in regard to where God is to be found, is just as he is found there in the higher worlds, so is he found to be found in the lower worlds. This is the end of today's shir, and of course the Alter Rebbe will go on to explain all of this, what we understand now, to appreciate godliness and to appreciate where God is revealed. What does it mean that Hashem is revealed, and how this is relevant to the way we are supposed to serve Hashem? This will explain in the next few days, B'ezrat Hashem. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you at Hashem tomorrow.